Good morning, happy friends. Even Star here in the shed at Hancock's House of Happy, home of cross stitch for the discerning geek and better mental health. I'm just going to take a second here to ask you to subscribe to this channel and also to share my videos and share my cross stitch designs with all your cross stitching friends on the internet. It really helps me to grow the website. So today I'm talking to you, or we'll be talking to you about all of the new free cross stitch designs that will be coming up on the website next week. I hope you've enjoyed Coffee Week. I definitely enjoyed Coffee Week. I will probably be revisiting coffee as a theme at some point in the future. And before we get into, again, today's list of things, you may be wondering why my hair is doing strange things, and also why am I wearing a coat? Well, it is a gray and chilly day here in Essex in the United Kingdom. Summer seems to have come to an extremely abrupt end, and we are into fall. I've been picking hops today. So I grow hops in my backyard, and I've been picking my hops, harvesting my hops. It's time to harvest the hops. And I'll be taking those to a local craft brewery tomorrow. I'm quite excited about that. They're going to be fresh hopping some beer. Now, to get into next week, the theme for next week is it's Boss or Boss Woman Week. I initially was going to have just Boss Week, but as you'll see, many of the cross-stitch designs definitely have a I wouldn't say they're like feminine, but they definitely do come from the experience of a woman management and women in leadership, and I just like to talk a little bit about that because I have been a woman in management and a woman in leadership for many years, and for many years I think that experience is unique. I think women do experience leadership in management much more differently than men do, simply because people aren't used to seeing us there. We're not used to seeing ourselves there. We have very little sort of resources or examples of our own gender in those roles. And when I was doing these designs and also making up the posts and doing a little bit of writing around the designs, which you'll be able to read next week, I found it quite a cathartic experience because I recently quit a very senior management and leadership position at a large corporate. If you've read my cross-stitching story on the blog, you'll understand what that is all about. And until I went and did all the writing around these designs and thought a little bit more about what motivated me to do them, I hadn't really thought about that experience very much. And I think I still have a little bit of anger there about some of my experiences there. I come from a background in technology, so I've been a technology systems architect, a technology product manager, and ran a technology product department. And you do encounter a lot of what I would call toxic masculinity. We talk about male-dominated professions. Well, I'd have to say that my own experience again is 80 to 90% of all professions in the world are still male dominated, right? I think as much ground as women have made in the last 100 years, especially in the last 40 years, I think there's still a long ways to go to just for, that gap of women in leadership isn't getting narrower. The pay gap isn't getting narrower. It's getting wider, if anything. There's fewer women in leadership, fewer women in management, and there's fewer opportunities for them there. And I won't ramble on about this because I don't like to be too political on this blog, but in as much as you could call what I do art, and I do call it art, and that's another, that's sort of another issue. Like, thank you, patriarchy. Any sort of design or creative pursuit that is something that is, majority either done or made by women is, devalued and not necessarily seen as art, but it's my form of expression, so I will call it art. And the designs I did and the writing I kind of did around them really it really brought out a lot of sort of a little bit of resentment and anger about the last 20 years or so, about my experiences as a boss woman. So again, I don't want to get too political here, but I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure that all of you watching this have at least one boss woman in your life. Maybe you are a boss woman, even if it's only in your own home, right? Women who run a household are as much a boss woman as a woman who runs a department, in my view. And you probably don't get the credit there because it's seen as like it's your female role. It's like not a profession at all, and I don't think that's right. So that's me on my little soapbox right today. I am going to launch into the designs. Yay! So if you haven't turned off by now, thank you for bearing with me and my rambling bearing of my soul. But I think some of the designs this week are really good, and I'm looking forward to showing them to you. Okay, so the first one coming up is it's kind of a take on a cross-stitch design or a theme that I've seen very many times. The whole not my circus, not my monkeys, right? Now, as you can see, I've got a bit of a different take on that. Now, definitely in my professional life as a boss woman, I've had to be very clear about my ownership. So what I own within an organization and what I do within an organization, what my team does within an organization. And being a product manager in the UK is still a little bit fraught. Not many people know what that is or what they're there for. So when I was running a product management team, I constantly had to keep explaining to people that, what product management is and what the product team is there to do. Because a lot of people thought we were there to manage developers, we were there to write code, we were there to go on pre-sales visits, and it's like, I'd get complaints about why are the developers so slow, or they're, this is a terrible situation, the pre-sales isn't doing its job, or whatever, right? And it's like, not my circus, not my monkeys, don't come to me about that. However, an even bigger battle I find for a boss woman is to keep people out of your domain, and to say that this is my circus, these are my monkeys, and these are my roles. I think it's a little bit disparaging towards one's, reports and teammates, but I've been in those situations where I've had to tell people, it's like, you're not running this show here. This is how we do it. And you probably will find many bosses, not just boss women, but many bosses in your life who would actually appreciate this take on, they run the show, my circus, my monkeys, my rules. This is a very versatile design. I just like those, with that color combination goes together, sort of the blue and the reds, and the sort of gradiated text there, but you can change those to be whatever colors you want. It's really easy to swap out. There's not many colors there. And I am sure that there will definitely be a boss in your life that will take one look at that and go, you know what, that's true. So the next design we have up is for the side hustle boss in your life. You know, every day I'm hustling. I found having a side hustle almost impossible with the kind of jobs that I've had in my life, which is why I finally kind of had to quit my job in order to get something off the ground. But you probably know someone in your life who is hustling on the side and is being their own boss on the side. Maybe they're not a boss at work, but they're definitely running the show outside of their 9 to 5 job. And I remember there's days when I was trying to get, you know, a side hustle off the ground where I couldn't wait to get home to my computer. I'd spent all day looking at a computer and maybe developing someone else's products or ideas, but I couldn't wait to get home and sit down and make something that, you know, belonged to me. And this is like side hustle, sweet side hustle. So I think that would make a great gift for somebody you know who's hustling, or even yourself. If you've got something going on the side, you know, stitch this for yourself. Stick that up in your home office or in your shed like this. Maybe you get only a piece of the kitchen counter for your side hustle. You know, stick it up in the kitchen. And just, you know, remind yourself why you're doing it, right? So I think this is a really sweet design. And I really have to apologize because I promised myself that, you know, when it came to cross-stitch designs, I wouldn't do confetti, but ha 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 ha. That didn't last very long, did it? So, yeah, so I thought this was kind of it's actually like a really quick design as well, apart from perhaps the rainbow confetti on the outside. But you don't have to stitch that. You can just put that little sort of mid-century modern desk on it and you're good to go. So the next design is one that you might recognize, or at least the quotes and the caricature you might recognize, and it is Saint Peggy from Mad Men. Yes, it's Peggy Olson from Mad Men. Now, I don't generally go in for fan art or, you know, things like that. I remember, like, when I was first starting up, like, sort of cross-stitch design, I did a lot of, like, Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is trendy. But generally, I don't go in for, you know, fan art. Now, the reason I kind of did Saint Peggy there is because, I mean, I love that quote. Am I the only one who can work and drink at the same time, right? Which is, you know, that sort of myth of, you know, women being multitaskers. But this also speaks to that sort of experience of a woman making it to the top of her career, because this depicts Peggy when she's walking into McCain Erickson. She's reached sort of a really big point in her career. You know, her career as, you know, an art director is going to take off. And I didn't want Boss Week to necessarily be about famous bosses, you know, or entrepreneurs. Managers and leaders aren't necessarily famous. They're just women who want to reach the top of their profession, and they have to work like Peggy did. They have to work twice as hard and put in twice as many hours to get the same recognition as their colleagues do. And I think Peggy Olson put a face on that. So you've got all of these really sort of faceless, nameless women struggling in obscurity and also succeeding fantastically in obscurity. I think Peggy puts a face on that for people. So I really enjoyed making this cross-stitch design. If you're a Mad Men fan or you know someone who is, they might appreciate that as well. So yeah, there you go. So the next one, and if you want to clutch your pearls, go ahead now, because there's a drop an F-bomb here. Oh my god, right. Now this is a little bit of Zen that I developed for myself, because I've been in a role for many years now where I have to be a very pragmatic and practical person. Being a product manager and a systems architect to a degree is being all about data. It's all about being dispassionate, logical, looking at the data. What does the data tell you, right? You have to be extremely objective. Unfortunately, not everybody who a product manager has to deal with is quite so objective. People get quite attached to their products and their technology and ways of doing things. And I always found myself in many meetings where I constantly had to take a breath because I had someone across the table getting extremely upset about the fact that, the data showed that, their idea is crap, right? Your idea is crap, your product's not selling, we're going to discontinue it. And they get very upset. So I developed this sort of little speech I would give myself before I'd go into situations like that, which I think is very good for any boss or manager or leader, because you do have to take emotion out of it. And I would just remind myself that, yes, I am like a serene and powerful goddess. I will remain calm, and I will totally mess you up with my logic. And I would totally mess people up with my logic. They would get very upset the more logical I got, but in the end, logic would prevail. And this is just, again, a very versatile design. I think there's only like 2 colors in it. And the motif in the background there is the Hamsa hands, which you might recognize, a spiritual symbol from many religious paths. Oddly enough, the hand is meant to be a symbol of power and is also often cited as being the hand of a powerful woman, which is very interesting. So if you do have definitely a boss woman in your life who needs a little bit of zen to take her into meetings, this is a perfect cross stitch. So this last design is one that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I've wanted to do a mason jar design for a very long time. And I've also been in love with this pun for a very long time, right? So if you've got balls, you can. And this is for those of you who maybe you're not a boss at work, maybe you're not a manager at work, but you know what? At home, you've got your shit together, right? And I do admire people like that, because I was a boss at work. At home, I'm useless. And this is also kind of like a tribute to my mom, who is a very ballsy lady, and she has been a boss at work and at home throughout her life. She's held very many leadership roles in her life, including like local politics. She's managed a shopping mall. She's done all kinds of boss things. But she's also a boss at home, because she's a home economist, right? And she's taught me to can, and she still cans like a good one. So I hope that I think she watches these videos. So it's like, thanks, Mom. So, thank you so much for bearing with me through my boss woman catharsis. That is your lineup of free cross-stitch designs for next week. I hope that you've had a good week, because you'll be seeing this on Friday. I hope you've had a good week. Boss woman or not, I'm sure you're doing fantastic at whatever it is you do. Now, I'm going to finish my coffee and go finish picking my hops, and I'll see you all next week. Okay, bye!